know, I know that some of you have been learning English for years, yet you have not mastered it. Some people are very fluent without a teacher, but you with a teacher, you still feel stuck. Why? Why is that? Welcome to this live session with Salome Alajide Buhari, the Scent Educator. This morning, I want to give you systems. I want to introduce you to systems, not just tips that you take off and run off with. No, I want to give you systems that would help you build your English skills. So if you're here, if you're ready to roll, type yes, yes, yes in the comments. You know how we do it. Welcome, Adura Doing. Good morning. Welcome. Let's be honest. Some of you still have issues. Yes, thank you, Adura Doing. Thank you, Ayomedia Abiodun. You have teachers right from elementary school. You have had different teachers teaching you the English language. Yet you still do not have that confidence to say, I am good. That is going to change today. Can you type that? That is going to change today. That is if you follow the instructions, if you get used to the systems that I am bringing your way. Fluency is a daily habit. It's not a classroom event. All right. And that's why I want to show you the systems. If you follow these systems for 30 days, your change will be evident. You will know that you have changed, and people around you will know that you have changed. Click the like button, share this on your status, share it everywhere, invite your friends, invite your neighbors, your roommates, tell them they need to come learn how to improve their English without a teacher, right? Are we ready? Waiting for your comments in the chat. All right. Thank you. Have you ever said something perfectly, or you heard something perfectly, and when it was your turn to say that thing, you felt stuck? Your mouth betrayed you. Comprehension and production are two different muscles. If you have been following closely, the very first video on this channel talks about 5 skills that you encounter when learning a language, not just English, any language. Listening, speaking, reading, writing, and cultural awareness. This video is going to highlight 4 of those: reading, speaking, listening, and writing, because those skills are very foundational in your improvement of the English language. Now, I said comprehension and production are 2 different muscles. I want to make it practical. Yeah? I want to make it practical. Today, when you leave this, read a news article. Maybe a page, or maybe a page of a novel. Read a page. Record yourself reading it aloud. Then listen to yourself. Have you ever done that? Some people say, I don't like it when I hear my voice. Why? Why? Listen to yourself. Record yourself, play it, and listen. Most people have never really heard their real English, and that moment can create awareness for you. You get to see the things that you need to improve. You get to know what you're doing well and what you need to work on, right? Are we good? Are we together? All right. So I will introduce you to the very first system. The very first system on my list is active reading aloud, which I just introduced you to. And I want to do something with this book. I have different books here, but I just picked this one because I haven't read this recently. So I just want to choose any page. It's The Spirit of Leadership. Now, I want to demonstrate what I want you to do on your own. Are we good? All right. Why am I doing this? It's very important. I teach the brain friendly way. And one way to help you know and understand what you're doing is that I explain why you do different things. When I give you tasks, I explain why I'm giving you the task. I believe that knowing why would help you know the relevance so that you can move on with it. When you read silently, you get the meaning. You are introduced to the meaning. But what happens when it is time to say what you have read? What happens when it is time to produce what you have imbibed? Those 4 skills I talked about, the listening, the speaking, the reading, and the writing, 2 of them help you take in good English. 2 help you bring out English. Yeah? The quality of English you take into your system is going to determine the quality of English you produce. Right? Simple? All right. So when you read English silently, some of you, that's what you do when you read your Bible. You just read silently like that. And the next minute I'm asking you, what did you read? You're like, I don't know. I just read it. I finished reading. Really. You need to learn. You need to stop. Learn to process things. Your brain is very powerful. We're not using, I once read that human beings, especially children, young people, youth, we're not using up to 10% of our mental capacity. And I believe that because we have so much on the inside of us, yet we feel stuck. It's because we're not using what we have, right? So fluency requires muscle coordination. You see your vocal organs, your lips, your teeth, your jaw, your tongue, all those organs that you use in communicating, in talking, they need coordination, muscle coordination. And when you just read like that, just do silent reading. Yes, it gives you the meaning, but it doesn't help you to comprehend and then produce. That's why we want to move on to this task. So you just don't want to understand English. You want your mouth to be able to produce it smoothly, right? That's the goal, isn't it? Isn't it? Reading aloud will create a bridge between recognition and production. That's why I want us to read this book aloud. So you're going to take any book, perhaps a news article, perhaps a novel, or any kind of literature. I have one here, like I said. Read it slowly. You can set a timer for 5 minutes, or just say you want to read a page. Right now, I'm not going to read up to a page, but we'll do it together so you see what I mean. Then, if there is any word you struggle with, underline it. Underline any word. If you find a word you struggle with, don't shy away. That is progress. That is spot on. That means that you have found something to work on. That's progress. And when you find a word that you're struggling with, you should applaud yourself like, yeah, I found something to work on, because you want to get better, don't you? Yeah? So any word you struggle with to pronounce, underline. If there are some long sentences that you were not able to articulate very well, you were not able to land because you lost your breath, you go over that again and read until it feels natural. So if you stumble at all, then it means that you have noticed fluency gaps, and that means you should practice. Somebody type practice. Practice in the chat. Say practice, practice. Practice in the chats. Yes, yes. All right. So I want to read this. Let's see if there is any, if we were together, I would have called someone to say, hey, read this aloud. But I want to do it so that we can flow together. I'll still use this text for other tips that we have. And I'm being mindful of the time, so I do not stay more than 30 minutes. The Spirit of Leadership by Dr. Miles Monroe. Knowing changes your mind, which transforms your attitude, which in turn informs, directs, and regulates your behavior. William James wrote, "The greatest discovery of our generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. As you think, so shall you be." This was really a rediscovery, because centuries earlier, another generation heard a similar truth from King Solomon, the wisest and richest man of his day, who essentially said, "As a man thinks in his heart, so is he." What a person thinks in his heart is what will ultimately come out in his actions. However, the challenge is in knowing how to change one's attitude. If attitude transformation were simple, then many of us would have changed a number of times during our lifetimes. That's where I want to pause for the reading. Your job, your task is to record yourself reading. So you press the recording button to start. You read a page, stop it, then listen to it again. Go through your page to see which word. Now, for me, there was a part that I read, I paused, I had to come back to it, right? You notice that because my brain had already moved past one word. I had to bring it back, say, hey, come on, look at this. There's a before this. Yeah, so it's very practical. And when you read aloud, it helps you hear yourself. Reading aloud helps you connect your brain to what you're saying. So when you hear yourself, it's a memory retention. It's a memory retention hack. Yeah, a memory retention hack. Just like I'll talk about that writing. Okay, we'll talk about that because handwriting and reading aloud are natural things that God just gave us to help us move on this communication skills ladder. Yeah, so let's move on to the second system. What's the first system I gave you? Type it in the chats. Let's see who's following. Type it in the chats. Type practice. Okay, type the first system I have introduced you to. I'm going on to the second. The second is structured listening. Structured listening. Yes? I'm waiting. Where is yours? Thank you, Eniola. First person to type structured listening. That's the one I want to introduce you to. But I said you should give me the first system I introduced you to. So I think the first person to do that is Azizat Dolakpo. Good. Azizat Dolakpo, you asked me for those books, I promise, on personal development. I will do that. That's one of the things I'm going to do at the next live. I'm going to introduce you to good books that you will read, and I will mention specific examples so you can go all out to get them to become a better version of yourself. Great. Thank you, everyone. All right, let's move to structured listening. You need to listen to high quality English if you want to produce high quality English. That's simple. Thank you, Tife. Thank you, General for Christ. Hi. Okay, yes. You need to listen to high quality English from different sources, not just from one person. So you're going to be listening to English media, not just news, not just movies, Listen to news, listen to interview sessions, listen to podcasts, listen to speeches, listen to audiobooks. Train your ears. You see these ears, they need training. Train them, train your auditory mechanisms so that they can go at the learning pace you want. Okay, so your brain learns patterns through exposure. If you're very into learning, very much into learning, you would know that patterns, your brain rests on patterns. So when your brain notices something and you give it something else that looks like that, automatically it goes on faster because you have given it a system, a pattern. Yeah? Your brain learns patterns through exposure, not just flimsy exposure or unstructured exposure. I mean meaningful exposure. So don't just listen to one bland type of English. You have to listen to different types of English, because if you listen to just one style of English, it means you are stuck with just one speed, one accent. But listen to different so that you can get different accents, different speeds, different conversational styles. So news. If you're listening to news English is formal. Podcast English is conversational, right? Interview English is spontaneous, yes, and speech English is persuasive. You're trying to persuade your audience to come along with you, to understand what it is you want to say. All these types of English, you need them. So if you listen to just one, just the news, you will not be able to build your conversational capacity, right? So you need all of that. When you are doing this, when you're listening to these types, you are training your brain to decode by listening to different aspects, different speeds, different vocabulary levels, and different natural pauses and fillers. And this will help you build comprehension flexibility. Okay, when I say comprehension, I mean understanding. It will help you build comprehension ability. And this would help you be confident. You're not stuck to just one style, right? You understand, you can move on. So if you understand this system, type yes in the chats. And if you have a question, please drop it in the chats and I'll take it. Let me check your chats. All right. Let me check your chat before I move on. Okay. And remember, if you never read aloud, if you never read aloud, your brain understands English, but your mouth cannot produce it smoothly. That's why many people understand well, but they struggle to speak, right? They understand, but they struggle to speak. So when you read aloud, you see the words you struggle with and the long sentences, and you can catch up on all of that. And this second part, I said structured listening would help your brain to learn patterns. Let's move on quickly to shadowing. Shadowing, that's system 3. Shadowing. I'll give you 5 systems. Shadowing. Somebody type shadowing in the chats. Like your shadow. Shadowing. Shadowing is you listening to someone and mimicking the person. Let me use the word mimicking, okay? You pause, you say it after them the same way. You are trying to sound like them. You do this for not just one speaker. When we were children, I'm sure you used to do that. When we were children, we did that. I don't know about you and your generation, but I know we did that, right? Sometimes it's because you like the way the person speaks. Sometimes it's because you want to act. Maybe you have a role and you want to act, so you play, and then, yes, listening to someone, exactly, General for Christ. Thank you. So To shadow, to use this shadowing technique very well, it means you have to get 2 or 3 models that speak English that you like, that is perfect, that is standard, that you like, that you want to model. Then get their speeches, their audios. If it's a podcast, if it's an audiobook, whatever it is, you get it and then you shadow. When you start it, it's going to feel funny. Why? Because you are getting introduced to something new. If it is news, of course, it's going to be very strange to your mental faculty, strange to your vocal facilities, but don't worry about that because you know that your aim is to improve sporadically. So, shadow, force your mouth to go along with the new system that is being introduced to. It's going to introduce you to new speech timing. It's going to introduce you to intonation patterns. It's going to introduce you to breath control and word linking. All these new things you would start to adjust yourself to. Now, when you start, there are some failures in quotes, right? Not failures like failures, but failures in quotes that would come up. Some words might sound too difficult for you. Sometimes you need to play and play as if you want to bite your tongue. It shows progress. It shows that you're making progress. So do it again. Don't stop. Try that again. Shadow that person again. When you get to a level of mastery, you can move to another speaker and then shadow that person. Right? When you have pronunciation gaps, when I say pronunciation gaps, I mean you think you can pronounce a word, but when you try to repeat it quickly, then you see that there's something wrong with your pronunciation. Pause and be happy, like, hey, I have something to learn. And then go slowly this time. Put yourself in the flow and take that again. Is that okay? Who is going to shadow? And let me ask if you have someone you would like to shadow. Just type in the chats. Think of someone right now on the spot, 1, 2, 3 people that you'd like to shadow, and then make a commitment to say you will do that before the next class so that you can share your experience. Okay? So you can share your experience. This is very valuable information, please. This is a skill that high-level executives use to get better. So it's very generous that you're having it right now. Donald Trump. That is a perfect example. Great. Oluwatofumi. Yes, he's very eloquent. So go ahead. Maybe you get his inauguration speech and then try to shadow that. I'd love to see you do that. Really. Okay? I'd love to see you do that. At a point, we'll get to a point where I give you tasks, I give you assignments, and you have to record yourself and post it and tag me so I can see it. We're not there yet, but I'll give you time to adjust, to learn these systems before I start asking to see what you can produce with it. Okay? So, Abiodun. Ayomide Abiodun. Everybody hold this guy. What do you want to copy? Okay, I'm not even saying it aloud. Wale Soyinka is a good one. Okay. All right. I will move on now to system number 3. Are we ready? No, system number 4, right? 3 was shadowing. System number 4 is, you have a question. Go ahead. Please go ahead, type your question. The 4th system is daily writing, journaling. I've said this before and I will say it again. Journaling is therapeutic, but it's not just therapeutic, it's a way to improve your English language skills. Writing daily. Writing daily. When you speak, it's easy. You can speak, you can say something, and you say, "How? You know what I mean?" Yeah. Even when you don't know what you mean, and you are trying to force the person listening to you to know what you mean. It's easy to escape when you're speaking, but when you're writing, hey, you force your brain to sit down with you and say, "Hey, you're not going anywhere. Today, we're going to follow through with these thoughts from the beginning to the end." You're going to organize, right? Writing forces your brain to organize your thoughts. When you're speaking, you can run with fillers. As in, like, but can you do that when you're writing? Nehi can grade. You can't do that when you're writing. Writing exposes weaknesses clearly. So if you struggle to form a sentence in writing, it means that your grammar structure is not yet automatic. And it's beautiful to know so that you can work on yourself. Writing will strengthen your sentence structure. Writing will strengthen your logical flow. It will strengthen your vocabulary recall. Most times we get to a point where you're trying to get the right words for some parts of your sentences. Writing can help you with that. Writing can help you with that. Writing can fix what looks like a speaking problem, because it's not actually a speaking problem, it's a thinking problem. So you see, writing, speaking, thinking, they're all skills, communicative skills that you need. So I've said writing will strengthen your sentence structure, your logical flow, your vocabulary recall, and your grammar awareness. It also reveals vocabulary gaps. So when you cannot find a word, that means that gap is visible. Now you know what to learn. Now you know that you need more words in your lexicon. When I say lexicon, I mean your mental dictionary. Okay, all the words that you are exposed to. Everybody needs more words in your lexicon. I do. I need more words in my lexicon too. So how do I help myself? I read more, and then I write. When I'm able to read, I'm introducing myself to what? What did I call it? High quality English. And I absorb. If I absorb and I do not write anything down, I don't write new words that I'm learning, I don't write my take on what I'm reading, then I'm wasting my time. Yes, I'm wasting my time. And I don't want you to do that. So, write daily. Write daily. Someone is asking, what is the best English speaking you recommend for his students to structurally listen to? English speaking. What do you mean, General for Christ? What do you mean? Yes, Precious Moyolua, I'm a good model to shadow. Yes, I am, because you can relate with my accent, you can relate with what I'm giving you, and then you shadow and go ahead and add more to your list. Okay, don't stay with one model. I encourage you to do 2 or 3 at this beginning session. I meant people like the British, Scottish, and others. General for Christ. Yes, that's a beautiful question. I said, do not stay with one accent. Don't stay with one accent, but you can start with look for very good speakers in Nigerian, modeling Nigerian English, British English, and American English. Those 3. Okay? Now, our own English is patterned after British English. But you know, in the media, everywhere, we have American English. I dare say that we listen to more Americans than Britons these days, because Americans are all over the media, they're all over YouTube, producing content, and we are introduced to their accent. So I'm not going to limit you to say, listen to only British speakers. You want to get introduced to regional accents. You want to get exposed to different accents so you can work on your timing, your intonation, your word links. So don't stick with one accent. General for Christ. I hope I have explained that. Have I explained that? All right. Our time is up. Already. Our time is up. I've talked about daily writing. Okay? Today I've talked about daily writing. And let's move on to smart vocabulary. Smart vocabulary. It's tied to writing. Okay? Stop learning big words that you never use. Start learning useful combinations. Use them. When you learn words, use the resources, use available data, use your skills. Instead of important, you can change it to critically important or highly important, increasingly important. See how they apply to whatever it is that you're saying. I'm also going to leave you with one system called environment design. Your English will not grow in an environment dominated by only your first language. What language fills your phone? What language are your YouTube recommendations in? What language do you think in? When you're chatting and doing gossip with your friends, what language do you use? What if you have whatever designs around you, what language is it in? Get posters, small flashcards you can go around with this. I think I'll talk more about that later because our time is up. And I want to keep to time. One thing I'd like you to do now is to practice your writing. You are going to practice your writing by telling me what you learned from this class. Yeah? You're going to tell me what you learned from this class, because English is not improved by wishing. English is improved by daily, imperfect, but disciplined contact. Your language grows with contact, with interaction, right? So I've given you different tasks, and I hope that you will take them to heart, practice them, so that in 30 days, if you commit yourself to these systems, in 30 days, you will not believe the changes you see in yourself. I would like to read what you learned from this class. So wait till the video goes live and then send it as a comment so that I can respond to it, right? Thank you so much for staying with me in this session of how to improve your English alone without a teacher and stick to systems that can skyrocket you in your communicative skills. I look forward to seeing you again next Friday, 8 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. West African time. Till then, a.m. Till then, have a good time improving your English skills. I love you too. Thank you so much. And yes, you are welcome. I'll be waiting for your comments so I can respond to them.